Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to the 74th edition of Pleach Talk. Pleach India Foundation, with its mission to impact the world through the power of Indian cultural heritage, continues to spread its wings across its ecosystem. As part of our commitment to disseminating heritage knowledge, the monthly online Please Talk series has brought together excellent speakers from diverse fields of history, archaeology, heritage, and architecture, and has received immense encouragement and support from our valued audience. It is our honor today to welcome Dr. T.S. Ravishankar, former Director Epigraphy Archaeological Survey of India. Born in 1955, Dr. Ravishankar holds MA degrees in Sanskrit and Ancient History and Archaeology, along with PhD from University of Mysore. With over 35 years of distinguished service in the epigraphy branch of ASI, he rose from epigraphical assistant to the highest position of director, making invaluable contribution to the study of inscriptions, paleography, and numismatics. A renowned authority on Sanskrit inscriptions and early Indian coinage, Dr. Ravishankar is presently the chairman of Epigraphical Society of India, president of South Indian Numismatic Society, and executive member of Place Name Society of India. He has taught generations of students through the postgraduate diploma in archaeology at the Institute of Archaeology, Archaeological Survey of India, New Delhi, and has coordinated numerous national workshops on epigraphy, paleography, and numismatics. I am especially happy to mention on a personal note that I am too a student of Institute of Archaeology, and it is an immense uh, pride. I welcome one of my mentors to this platform. Dr. Ravishankar has participated in major archaeological excavations, authored several scholarly articles in English and Kannada, and engaged internationally, including research on Nagari inscriptions in Azerbaijan and lectures on IGNO and IIT Kanpur. We are truly privileged to have such an eminent scholar with us today, and we look forward to an insightful and enriching sessions. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. T.S. Ravishankar. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Uh, Good evening, dear viewers. I am very much delighted to be part of Pleach India Foundation. Especially thank the authorities of the foundation and Dr. Y.S. Sanatana, Director, Research and Projects for this opportunity. Since I have put in more than 4.5 decades in the field of epigraphy and paleographical study, I chose this topic for today's talk because of two reasons. Firstly, to acquaint our young research scholars of the historiography of epigraphical and paleographical studies, and also to review the status of epigraphical studies. It's very much needed to periodically review a very, very specialized discipline like epigraphy. With all the progress we have made, the very fundamental question arises: are we giving due status to the epigraphical studies which it deserves? Though we talk tall and emphasize epigraphy as a primary source to understand our past, unfortunately, in the scheme of things, it's not getting its due place. The study is marginalized and put on a back burner. Compared to the magnitude of the country and abundant material available, we need much more professional epigraphists to conduct epigraphical survey and copy inscriptions and enrich our epigraphical wealth. If a small section of epigraphists are working, it's not enough. We need to strengthen and revitalize the discipline. In the recent years, many young scholars want to make a foray into this field and make a career. So we have to create plenty of opportunities for them so that they can contribute their might in enriching this field. And I don't want to go into the deeper aspects of these things. Earlier also, way back a decade ago, I presented a paper, What Ails Indian Epigraphy? That at the time the situation was a bit different. And on two platforms, History, Heritage Society, I gave a talk, my journey as an epigraphist for 4 decades. And there was also a discussion to review the status of epigraphical studies, why they waning interest in the epigraphical studies. That's also available. The viewers who are interested, they can just listen to that. Today's talk, I wish to dedicate to paligraphers and epigraphists who have done pioneering work and laid a firm foundation on which the edifice of paligraphy and epigraphy is built. So, sustained effort is needed to strengthen the edifice. We all have a major role to play in this direction. And as you all know, it's a very, very vast area I have chosen. What I would be sharing or talking is only a tip of the iceberg. There are many things to be told. And broadly, I will touch upon different dimensions of epigraphy and paligraphical studies with a stress on the earlier paligraphical work that has been done and its a transformation through the time, ages to the present day. So there is so let's take a look at the beginning and development. See, the establishment of the Asiatic Society of Bengal gave a great momentum, not only to the Indological studies, and also to it acted as a catalyst to the epigraphy and paligraphical studies. Beginning and development of Indian paligraphy, and especially Dani, in his monumental work, Indian Paligraphy, has very beautifully delineated many of the aspects connected with this. And our young researcher scholars, they go directly to the script. And it's necessary to build the historiography, both of paligraphical and epigraphical studies. Here I'm trying to give a very broad outline and also give a dated what all the works that have been done by great scholars. So the first stage, what he mentions, around late 18th century and the early part of 19th century, though discovered the entire country was agog with activities of epigraphical survey of India. Throughout the length and breadth of the country, epigraphists and others, research scholars were copying inscriptions that were available throughout the India. From each and every corner, they conducted epigraphic surveys and copied innumerable inscriptions. So that forms the first stage, very first stage in the beginning. and then followed by the charts. These are very important calligraphy charts. When they copied a lot of inscription to facilitate the young researchers and scholars who want to decipher, the era started of preparing calligraphical charts. This is the second stage when they started producing on different scripts, charts were made available. And the third stage involves editing and publishing of inscriptions in Epigraphia Indica, a very, very prestigious publication of the Archaeological Survey of India, and then followed by Corpus Inscriptionum Indicarum, South Indian inscription volumes, and many, many more. And similarly, at the same time, you find, the countries. When we think of India, we have to think of a greater India concept where all the neighboring countries were included. And if we can go beyond, it's also the Southeast Asia, where, we find along with the culture, tradition, the script and language to travel to different parts of Southeast Asia. A large number of inscriptions were copied at that time, and they were also subjected to calligraphical studies. That's what we notice. In fact, when we look into the Ceylon, there are some early publications like Epigraphia Zeylanica and Burma, Epigraphia Burmica, like that. They produced very, very valuable publications. Again, the paleographical studies, they made a further classification. Again, it falls in three stages. When we look into in a sequence, chronological order, we find, the first stage, that is 1834, Babington prepared a table of letters of the available inscriptions, Sanskrit and Tamil inscriptions that were discovered at Mamallapuram. This is the very, very first work started, though limited to a particular region. So they started tabulating the letters, and how Babington started initially the first work. Then followed by Walter Elliot, a great Indologist. In 1833, he published an elaborate comparative table of the Kannada alphabet. You may see they were working also on the regional scripts also at the same time. And in 1837, Captain H. Harkness compiled his ancient alphabets of the popular Hindu language of the southern India. So then James Prinsep, he wrote this modification of the Sanskrit alphabet from 543 BC to 1200. Here, we always take the names of James Prinsep. There are so many other scholars, who worked on Indian calligraphy. Why not on the same breath we can take G.H. Ojha, who has written Bharatiya Prachina Lipimala. In fact, if we dig into the archives, we may find many more Hindu Pandits, scholars, Sanskritists, who met all assisted the great other scholars. So there is a great need to delve deeper into the antique materials and archival materials to find out the scholars, the Indian scholars who all formed a part of this successful decipherment. Then essays on Indian antiquities It's a very, very famous work edited by E. Thomas. In his work, he takes, edited the works of James Prinsep. And James Prinsep, perhaps at that point of time, given a very, very beautiful definition, which even to this day holds good. He says, within quotes, I have arranged the changes of each letter has undergone in successive centuries as deduced from absolute records on copper and stone. And the table furnishes a curious species of paleographic chronometer by which an ancient monument may be assigned with considerable accuracy to period at which it was written, even though it possesses no actual date. So here lies the role of calligraphy as a tool in dating not only the inscription, and if it is found along with the monument, even it helps us to date the monument of the temple. And the second stage, after the first stage, now the second stage is the painstaking endeavor of earlier scholars led to understanding of two major scripts which you are all aware, Brahmi and a Kharoti script. These are two major, very important scripts. And then it's James Prinsep who laid the foundation for the second stage. Now we have noticed in the first stage, who are all the earlier scholars responsible for this. So James Prinsep laid the foundation for the second stage. And James Burgess is very important. He has very beautifully defined. If you say epigraphy is study of the inscription, calligraphy is the gradual modifications of alphabets in the course of time. This is in a very simple, beautiful manner. He has defined what the calligraphy is. Again, A.C. Burnell, for the first time, in the South Indian calligraphy, he authored a book, Elements of Indian Calligraphy, from 4th century to 14th century. In the year 1874, he wrote the book. See, one thing we have to keep in mind, this is, gradual progression they have made, advancement they have made. We can't say it may be little obsolete, but we have to reckon the contribution of the earlier calligraphers. Now we may stand in a very different pedestal, but we can't afford to neglect the earlier work. It is every stage, they made progress, advancement they made, and brought to us a very good picture of our the calligraphical studies in India. Again, another scholar responsible for this cave hole, collected materials regarding inscriptions of Southeast Asia. As I mentioned earlier, simultaneously, the work was also going in different parts of Southeast Asia, like Cambodia, Java, Sumatra, where a whole large number of inscriptions were collected, they were edited, even subjecting them to the paleographical studies also. After this, James Burgess did a similar work in 1883. And now we have in 1894, even to this day, it's a monumental work referred to by many of our epigraphists, paleographers, students, is Bharatiya Prachina Lipimala by D.H. Oja. Why can't we commemorate a day? In fact, Sirohi district, they did observe and they did a small seminar on the contribution of D.H. Oja. Similarly, we have to remember this great contribution. Whenever, immediately we refer to the Bharatiya Prachina Lipimala for the monumental work done by him. So subsequently, three German scholars made a very, very notable contribution to the Indian calligraphy, later half of the 19th century. Rodolphe Vernal, he analyzed the Bauer manuscript. We may take right from Bueller to many scholars. Along with the inscription, they also studied the paleographical aspects of the manuscripts. That's one aspect, if you see. They have prepared, no doubt, the charts of the inscription. All along, they have studied the earlier manuscripts available and made a comparative study, and the influence vice versa on inter-study they also made. That aspect, one has to take a note of it. Now further, we have developed it. And then a Fleet, again a very great epigraphist. He did study the regional scripts of North India. James Fleet, John Faithful Fleet, made a detailed study of the regional scripts of North India. And E. Hulsh, the first government epigraphist, he gave a very good direction to the epigraphical studies and edited several volumes. In fact, he edited even Epigraphia Indica, Volume 1 and subsequent volumes also. Along with that, he did study South Indian inscription also, and that added to the knowledge of the South Indian calligraphy. So George Bueller, in 1896, Indice Calligraphic, a monumental work even to this day. In fact, the school, right from Dr. K.V. Ramesh to all his predecessors, they followed George Bueller's. In fact, when I was going through his work on Indian epigraphy itself, he has devoted considerable portion just to differ himself with some of the hair-splitting differences which Dani has stated in his work. So he rightfully acknowledges Bueller's contribution in this paleographical studies. And he goes in that school and broadly he takes Bueller's views into view while studying paleographical studies rather than Ahmad Hasan Dani. So he summed up the views. Bueller states, the contemporary scholars lays foundation for the third stage to lend more accuracy. Bueller mentions, I have been to illustrate most of the Indian alphabets by cutting from facsimiles instead of hand drawing. So the third stage in Indian calligraphy begins from the close of the 19th century. Regular volumes of Epigraphia Indica started appearing. Similarly, as I mentioned earlier, material available from epigraphical publications of Burma, Ceylon, and Southeast Asia. Again, another monumental work in paleographical studies, say Sivaramurthy's Indian epigraphy and South Indian scripts. Rajbali Pandey, he wrote again Indian paleography. And F.W. Thomas, Brahmi script in Central Asian Sanskrit manuscripts. So to take the view, since I have vastly consulted Dani, Dani says in his concluding words regarding the paleography, in conclusion, Dani says his approach to Indian paleography follow from his conception of writing as being a part of culture. The study of paleography is thus an attempt to discover various styles of writing in any particular culture as it evolved through centuries. So our country is very rich in epigraphical heritage. Hundreds and thousands of inscriptions have come to light. Many more are being discovered, thereby proving beyond doubt that the study of epigraphy is resilient and as vibrant as archaeology. Thanks to vast awareness, communication, social media, technology, that has given a new direction and put things on a proper trajectory. Why I'm mentioning changing course of epigraphical and paleographical studies stems from the fact that there is a great paradigm shift that has taken place in the recent years. With the inscription reported from different parts of India, both lithic and copperplate inscription, written in various scripts and languages, belonging to different dynasties from pre-Christian era to medieval and late medieval period. At this juncture, we cannot forget the concept of Brihad Bharata or Greater India, which forms one unified geographical entity. To understand the political or cultural context, we have to study and integrate, understand, and appreciate different parts of Indian subcontinent, which includes neighboring countries, of course, which includes the Southeast Asian countries too. Hundreds of inscriptions have come to light, which stands as a testimony to this fact. If at all volumes of history could be written, it's because of inscription known from length and breadth of the country, far-flung in time and space. Its role as a primary source to reconstruct the past need not be reiterated. There is no ancient Indian history without epigraphs. It supplements, corroborates, and other sources, including literary sources. The early phase of epigraphy and paleographical studies, in the beginning, epigraphies were more focused, keen to tap epigraphical sources to write well-knit political history. That was a phase when many major dynasties came to light, both from north and south. Later, when the political history was fairly well settled, the epigraphists and historians turned to other aspects like cultural history and the post-colonial period. Epigraphical sources were used to write cultural history, socio-economic conditions, and many more aspects. Multidisciplinary and multidimensional. This is a very concept which is gaining ground in these recent years. As you are all aware, epigraphy is a very, very specialized discipline. To become a sound epigraphist, one needs a thorough command or understanding over the language, classical language. As you all know, script and language go together. They are like opposite and reverse side of a coin. Knowledge of history, mythology, tradition, ephemeris, etc. are also required to become a sound epigraphist. Hence, it's a demanding discipline. With the passage of time and with the changes in perspectives and approach, multidimensional approach is gaining ground, integrating different disciplines. That's great paradigm shift that has taken place, bringing in tremendous changes, pushing the frontiers of epigraphical studies and the holistic approach is the need of the hour. Some more aspects may be brought in here, like archaeology and epigraphy. In fact, epigraphy and archaeology, they go hand in hand. Name any major archaeological excavation sites, right from Taxila, Hichatra, Nalanda, and many more. have yielded abundantly epigraphical materials like inscription, maybe fragmentary nature, copperplate inscription, images with the pedestal inscription, potsherds with inscription, seals and sealings, which forms a major chunk of discoveries, especially from North India, inscribed bricks, and many more. Stratigraphy and calligraphy of inscribed material plays a very significant role in contextualizing the historicity of the find. So the knowledge, the script is extremely essential for an archaeologist to make an in situ, I emphasize, to make an in situ decipherment of epigraphical records. Later, it can be referred to professional epigraphists for finalization. So the knowledge of script is very essential to decipher legends on coins, text written on seals and sealings, and even manuscripts. I wish to mention while in service, I too had opportunity of attending half a dozen uh, archaeological sites and make in situ study of inscriptions. Connecting and integrating different disciplines. Epigraphists, both from North and South, epigraphs refers to terms which are quite popular in numismatic parlance, like Karshapana, Suvarna, Nishka, Dinara, and many more. Iconography and epigraphy, architectural terms, and many more. Many terms of religious works connected with Buddhism, Jainism, and Vedic and Brahminical works figuring in inscription give chronology and historical context so we can trace the origin and development of any given religion. So epigraphs are an essential source in this, also a field like onomastics. Onomastics is study of place names and personal names. So epigraphs has a very major role in tracing or the names of different towns, cities, and like that. So heritage, epigraphical heritage and awareness. In the beginning, I have explained how rich our epigraphical heritage with intense and extensive epigraphical survey, large number of inscriptions, both lithic and copper inscriptions have come to light compared to the magnitude of our country. The level of awareness we have created is not enough. Added to the vagaries of nature, human vandalism is rampant. As early as 1940s, C. Sivaramurthy, a great art historian and epigraphist, expressed a deep anguish over the lamentable state of affairs with regard to artifacts, especially with regard to epigraph material. He expresses that in some part of the other, copper plates are smelted just for the value of metal. Thereby, we may lose a precious page of history, maybe Gupta or some other dynasty. Similarly, inscribed stone slabs are being used as washing stone and other constructive material. Coin hoards are smelted, again, for the value of gold, silver, or copper. In the name of modernization, chunks of lands are swallowed by land sharks. Along with some unprotected monuments, we may lose the inscription also. More than the urban population, large-scale awareness and sensitization of rural public need to be made. Thanks to the efforts of heritage lovers, history enthusiasts, script lovers, and young scholars, situation has improved now. They are being brought to the notice of the knowledgeable persons. Media is doing their best to highlight the discoveries and historical importance of epigraphs, especially in the recent years. Because of large-scale awareness, many new inscriptions were coming to light thanks to the efforts of Directorate of Epigraphy, ASI, Mysore. There is a great need to strengthen the epigraphy branch to carry out this job more aggressively and vigorously. The role of Epigraphical Society of India. From the middle of 1970s, ESI played a very crucial role in bringing together the fraternity, the epigraphists, on a common platform to discuss, integrate, consolidate epigraphical discoveries in the journal brought out periodically. Recently, ESI celebrated its Golden Jubilee Year conference held at Kolkata. The response was overwhelming, especially young research scholars and students attended. I am totally convinced that the future of epigraphical studies is going to be very bright. Again, there is a need to should create opportunities for the young scholars to grow. And there are a galaxy of epigraphies. So this is, we have to create an opportunity. And the last few years, in to recognize the contribution, Venkaya's Prashasti is also installed. And every year now they identify a scholar of great eminence who has done immense contribution in the area of epigraphy. That's a very great, first of its kind in the country, in the name of Venkaya endowment. Now they recognize and honor the scholar. This is very important. Now coming to the technology, technology has played a tremendous role both in the realm of science, humanities, to enhance the quality, understanding, appreciation. Technology has been used at different level, at different point of time. Archaeology and its allied field is not an exception to it. As compared to other areas of humanities and historical studies, we see less inroad of technology in the realm of epigraphical studies. Perhaps subject itself, such a nature, may not demand so much of technological intervention. If you review the history of epigraphical and paleographical studies, at least from the establishment of the epigraphy branch in the year 1887, the epigraphical survey has carried out copying of inscription by stampaging. It was an era of stampaging inscription. Of course, it even to this day also followed. Also, perhaps they took a couple of photographs to supplement established stampages of the inscription for better decipherment of the inscription. A review of the epigraphical publication revealed beautiful facsimiles of the inscription appearing in different publications. However, every technique has its own limitations. The problem faced in the decipherment of inscription, either due to vagaries of nature or human vandalism, many a time inscriptions that come to light are either damaged, worn out, or defaced. Even the best efforts and skill, we will not be able to take the best stampage of the inscriptions. Here, the technology comes to rescue. With the help of digitized cameras, 3D scanning, we can get the best results, and it can enhance our quality of decipherment, with the result that we can qualitatively improve our reading and understanding of the text of the inscription. The role of technology in paleographical studies. See, we heavily depend on the earlier works, and they didn't have that much advanced techniques, mostly eye copy. Thanks to the enormous put in by the paleographers and epigraphists in preparing charts, eye copy of the inscription. In fact, with utmost perfection and clarity, they have handed over to us the high copy of the inscriptions with the digitized version. And what I mean to say, express here, in the recent years, decades, hundreds and thousands of new inscriptions have come. Whether you take the work on earlier calligraphical works, especially after Dani, the post-independent India, we don't have a work of pan-Indian work, Indian calligraphy. So we need to review, revise in the light of the large number of inscriptions. Though the basic structure of the lecture may not be that much change, but the sheer varieties, keeping in view both the lithic and copperplate inscription, we need to review, rewrite, and it may add many more regional varieties as far as the calligraphical aspects are concerned. Earlier, as you know, the calligraphers restricted themselves up to the 12th century Common Era. Now I think we can slightly extend it. The regional varieties that also can be taken note of. Plus, many more new inscriptions have come. So, either to add to the history, epigraphical studies or calligraphical studies, so it's a must now to take into account the large number of inscription. We can give more clarity and clearly define each letter with much more precision than the earlier our predecessors have done it. Role of technology in the preservation and conservation of stamp pages and original stones. The stamp pages preserved in the epigraphy of Mysore and Nagpur are the only source left to us to check the authenticity of the reading and also possible improvement in deciphered text. Preservation of stamp pages is utmost priority with the passage of time. Old stamp pages are bound to become brittle unless periodical mending maintenance is undertaken. As often expressed, stamp pages of the inscription is the only source in the absence of original stone of inscription. Even if they are found, they may be in a damaged and mutilated condition. All the stamp pages should be digitized so that apart from preservation, digitized version of the stamp page and transcript may be made available to the scholars who wish to refer to the stamp page and pursue their research. So we are losing our great heritage at a very fast pace. It's time to put us in place the technology so that we can pass it on to our posterity. So very recently, it's there in the news, the epigraphy branch of the ASI has taken up, it's a matter of great gratification for all of us, a major leap in the preservation of stamp pages. Perhaps there cannot be bigger achievement than this for passing on the legacy and heritage to the posterity. The scheme has come into effect under the Bharat Shri project, Bharat Shared Repository of Inscription. The digitization process will generate high-resolution scans that can freely be accessed, downloaded by scholars and the public. Along with the stamp pages, they are digitizing transcripts and other data available. It's a laudable initiative by Dr. Muniratnam and his team, the epigraphy of the archaeological branch. So I wish to say we are entering another level to preserve our great heritage. Since I had chose a very vast area, I have tried to trace right from the beginning till modern day. And I wish to again emphasize, and because of my interaction in the recent decade or more, I see another generation is coming. Second and third line scholars are coming up but there is a need to open up opportunities for them. Now, Indian Institute of Heritage, is offering a course on calligraphy, epigraphy, and numismatics studies. So there are very trained people to use their skill, what they have learned. We need to create opportunity, as I told. So the large number of opportunities can be created so that we can absorb many of the trained epigraphists, young scholars who want to make a career in this area. We can open up. Yes, better days are definitely ahead. With this talk, I wish to conclude all the seeing better future for epigraphy and paleographical studies. Thank you very much.
Uh, Thanks a lot, sir. And if our audience, if you have any queries or feedbacks, please write it on the chat box so we can, sir, can address that.
So I have stuck to the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So, sir, I have one question. So,
Mm,
usually we know that how decipherment of Brahmi has brought light on Ashoka's edicts across India and his personality, everything. So,
mm.
other than that, is there any other inscriptions or study of epigraphy has altered the historical context or historical understanding of any dynasty or any particular historical event? If you can give us few examples from inscriptions, it will be very helpful.
See, as far as North Indian is concerned, it is Brahmi, North Indian, uh, whatever the Mauryan Brahmi. And prior to that, we may have some few inscription, but again, this is Sarkar and others, they have dated it to 3rd century BC. But if you come down to the Kiredi and other excavations, where we have early Brahmi inscription, what you call Tamil Brahmi, whatever, they, along with other scholars, like Rajan, Professor Rajan and other, they want to push the antiquity of writing to 5th or 6th century, along with other archaeological finds. Definitely, this will alter the entire dynamics of the study if we accept all. But in the still awaiting, we are awaiting in the north such a early discoveries, though they try to push it little. But definitely, what we have found in the south, Kiredi excavation, it changes the entire dimension of our early studies if it is accepted like that. Yeah, that's the, yeah.
Thank you, sir. And we have few more questions, sir. Miss
Yeah,
Yogi Treya, she is asking, will AI penetrate into the field of epigraphy? And if, sir, if you think so, and what would be its role be?
yeah. Yes, this I had mentioned artificial intelligence. Yes, AI. In fact, I attended one of the talk, the Mythic Society, where a scholar tried to present the artificial AI role. But I think much more study need to be taken. After attending the talk or this one, I'm convinced. See, it can be a 50-50%. We can't totally depend on AI only. And for many of the questions, I didn't get a very suitable or satisfactory reply. For example, you have shell characters. See, unless you give the basic forms to that person who works on that, or shell characters, or any other thing, undeciphered thing, it can't do on its own. So basic work, epigraphist only have to give some characters. It may try to remove some character identification like that, it may do. But what I understand, basically we may have to give some basic data. So the intelligence, artificial intelligence can be utilized to further throw much light on this, yes, it is still in a very, very beginning stage. Yes, AI can be of useful, definitely, but again, the role of seasoned epigraphists, they have to give the data, and further it can be subjected for further clarity on the study. That's what the AI can do with regard to the paleographical study or epigraphical study.
Sir, there is another question. Is asking for any must-read books on epigraphy and paleography for someone who is new to these subjects.
Absolutely. So I wanted to mention it. Yes. As far as in my workshops where I conduct largely, I recommend 6 books. The 3 books for paleography: Bharatiya Prachina Lipiwala by Oja, Bharatiya Prachina Lipimala, and then Sivaramurthy's book on South Indian scripts and Indian epigraphy, and Ahmad Hasan Dani, Indian Paleography. So these are the 3 essential books even a beginner has to do to acquaint himself with the subject of paleography. As far as epigraphy is concerned, one has to read Indian Epigraphy by D.C. Sarkar, and then Indian Epigraphy by Dr. K.V. Ramesh, and yes, the very, very popular work, Richard Solomon, Indian Epigraphy. So these are the 6 books, first 3 for paleographical study, the other 3 for epigraphy. So later on, there are many, and I wish to suggest here a fairly uh, Richard Solomon in his work has appended a very large, bibliography of the works connected with epigraphy and paleography. Any interested scholar can consult and pick up some more publication. But these are the essential books one has to study when he is new to the field. Yeah.
Miss Aruna Pariti, she feels that uh, uh, like it is found that often chronology in inscription is debatable. How can we resolve this issue?
Can you just repeat it?
She says, my question is, it is found that often chronology in inscriptions is debatable. How can we resolve this issue?
See, I told, paleography uh, is not an absolute thing. And
Even better.
when we find, along the archaeological sites, for example, undated inscription, broken image inscription, along with the stratigraphy, we can fairly date that particular inscription along with the other things. And now over the period of time, calligraphy is almost an established tool. When inscription is not dated, fairly we can date it, plus or minus 100 years. So that contradiction will be there. More precisely, yes, dated inscription always a welcome, but in the absence of that, with the help of paleography, we can date, and taking other relatively available contextual things, we can date the inscription. Yes, controversies are bound to be there, but we had to take into account the other context evidences and date the inscription.
Yes. Sir, Mr. Mohan Priya Ilaiyaraaja, he says, Sir, can you refer to any specific topic in epigraphy and paleography which needs basic or further research? The topics which aren't brought to light yet.
Yeah, see, for example, shell character inscription. There are many shell characters. We are still working on it. A large number of shell character inscriptions have been documented, even now being copied. This can be subjected definitely from the Whether it lies, with if I very minutely observe, they have their origin somewhere in the late Brahmi. And taking all the available thing, we should try to prepare a chart of the shell characters. So they are very small, short label inscriptions. But fairly, if we can devote much time, taking technology and other thing, I think this is an area we can work. Another thing which I just referred earlier also in my talk. See, the regional scripts scholars have worked, like Orison, Proto-Bengali, or Sharda. But the major desideratum is now the after Ahmad Asandani, there is no book on Indian calligraphy, whereas large number of inscriptions have come to light, and we have to prepare and make a study which should be more consumable for the students, taking all the present thing in view. So there's a very great need to write a book on Indian calligraphy. There are many areas, like, for example, as the scholar was asking, we have to work on the box-edit character itself. So there are some articles written, but even that has a history of 400 years, box-edit characters that can be studied, and right from Vakatakas to the rulers of central India. So like that, there are many areas. You can share my contact number. I can give some more ideas with regard to the calligraphical study which you can pursue. I would be more happy, and even in the area of epigraphy. Thank you. Yeah.
Sir, and our CEO, sir, Dr. Imani Shivanagi Reddy, sir, he also has
Yeah.
joined the
Yeah.
talk. He was there
Very
also.
nice.
Uh, he has a question as well. He's saying, is the Batti Parlo relic casket script is older to the Ashokan Brahmi?
No, it's not older. Scholars have placed it to later day, and the calligraphy is a very confusing thing because Bhattiprolu itself is one unique, different type of inscription. So later scholars have dated to little later period than the 3rd century BC or so. And like Bhattiprolu and the casket inscription, what we have number of inscriptions there, that we don't have any other record to compare. Or subsequent period, though to trace the South Indian calligraphy, especially from Andhra region, we take the Bhattiprolu and subsequently the early Satavana, whatever they try to trace it. But there are not many such inscriptions to come to a very clear understanding as far as the calligraphy is concerned. But it definitely, scholars are of the opinion it's of later date, what they have suggested. I also need to take a relook at this. I don't want to comment much on this. I have not done much research in this area.
Sir, Vijay Kumar Jadhav, sir, asking, are there any books on glossary on epigraphical terminology used in the inscriptions, like Sapta Santana in South Indian inscriptions for references purpose? For
No.
reference
Yes, there is a very great work by Indian glossary inscriptions by D.C. Sarkar. It fairly covers all the terminologies used in both the South Indian inscription as well as North Indian inscriptions. So Indian glossary of inscriptions by D.C. Sarkar is a very comprehensive work. Later, ICHR also has brought some administrative and other terms. Perhaps Dr. K.V. Ramesh edited it few volumes, this one. I think it's still a project underway, but I would like to suggest our scholar. There are other glossaries also, but Indian glossary by D.C. Sarkar is very handy reference work. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a profound talk today, and it was excellent covering the current trends in Indian inscriptions, epigraphy, and paleography. And we are very thankful, sir, from Pleach side. And Pleach India Foundation also thanks our audience for such making our today's talk very memorable. Thank you all. And next talk is our 75th Pleach talk. For more detail on that, please stay tuned to our social media and even our website. Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Looking for more opportunity. Try to bring in more and more epigraphy and paleographical studies, and even possible sometime offline also possible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I very much pleased to see you, meet you
Thank you.
after
Thank you.
many years.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Same. Thank you.
Yeah.